If a letter from the DWP says your payments could end on July 3rd, 2026, this is not the kind of date you can put aside for later. For some people, missing that one date does not mean a small delay. It can mean the money they rely on stops, even if nothing else in their life has changed. And the most dangerous part is that many people still think this is just routine paperwork. If you want updates explained in plain English before they turn into missed payments or costly mistakes, subscribe now, because this channel is built for people who would rather understand the rule early than panic after the money stops. Now let's clear up the biggest confusion straight away. This does not mean every DWP payment in Britain ends on July 3rd, 2026. It does not mean the state pension stops for everyone on that date. It does not mean attendance allowance, PIP, or pension credit suddenly vanish for the whole country. What it usually means is far more specific, and that is why people get caught out. For many working-age claimants still on older benefits, the date in the letter is their own deadline to move over to universal credit. If that personal deadline is July 3rd, 2026, and they do not act in time, the older benefit can end. That is where the real problem starts. People hear a title like this and think it must be a national cut-off day for everybody. Then some viewers ignore it because they are pensioners and assume it is not relevant, while others panic and think every benefit is about to disappear at once. The truth sits in the middle, and that truth matters. The people most likely to be affected are those still getting older means-tested benefits that are being replaced by universal credit. That can include income-related ESA, housing benefit in many cases, and in some situations, other older support that has been part of the move to universal credit. Some benefits have already been closed to most people, but there are still people finishing this move. Now here is the part most people miss. The danger is not only the rule itself, the danger is the letter sitting unopened on a table mixed in with bank statements, council papers, or NHS post. Some people think they have time, some think the DWP will move them automatically, some think no action is needed because they already proved their situation years ago. That is often where the loss begins. If you or someone close to you has had a migration letter, a universal credit notice, or any DWP letter with a deadline date, tell me in the comments if the wording felt clear or confusing, because that confusion is exactly what puts people at risk. So what is July 3rd, 2026 in plain terms? It is likely the date by which a person named in a DWP migration notice must claim universal credit if they want their support to continue without the old benefit ending. In other words, the date is not magic, it is not random. It is the last safe point written into that person's own move from one system to another. This is also why two neighbors can be in completely different situations. One person may have no issue at all because they are already on universal credit. Another may be over state pension age and not part of this move. Another may still be getting an older benefit and have a letter with a date that is now getting close. Same street, same week, very different risk. But that is not the full story. Many people hear move to universal credit and think it is optional advice. For some, it is not. Once the migration notice arrives, the clock starts. If the person does nothing, the old benefit does not simply carry on forever while the DWP waits. The system assumes action is needed and the deadline matters. There is also a common mistake that sounds small but is very serious. Some people create an online account and think that means they have claimed. Not always. If the claim is not fully completed, verified, and pushed through properly, the deadline can still pass. Starting is not the same as finishing. That one misunderstanding can cost weeks of money. And now pay close attention to this next part. A lot of people think this only affects job seekers. It does not. Some people on income-related ESA have health problems, long-term illness, or limited ability to work. Some have not dealt with major benefit changes in years. Some need help with forms, identity checks, internet access, or phone calls. That is why this deadline hits so hard. If this sounds like something an older parent, a disabled relative, or a carer could easily miss, share this video with them now. One forwarded link can be more useful than an apology after the payment has already stopped. Let's talk about what actually ends. If a person is told to move and does not claim universal credit by the deadline in the notice, the older means-tested benefit named in that process can end. That may include income-related ESA and housing benefit, depending on the person's case. For many people, that is the heart of the warning behind this title. Now let's talk about what does not automatically end just because of this title. State pension is not being shut down for everyone on July 3rd, 2026. Attendance allowance is not being cancelled for all older people on that date. PIP is not simply disappearing because someone saw a dramatic headline online. Pension credit is not part of this same move in the way many rumors suggest. This is the detail that changes everything. The title sounds wide, but the real rule is targeted. You have to ask one basic question first. Did the DWP actually send you a notice telling you to move by that date? If the answer is no, then the title may not apply to you in the way you feared. If the answer is yes, then you should treat the date as urgent. The next important point is timing. Many people think missing the date by a few days is no big deal. But when money pays for food, rent, heating, or travel, even a short break can cause damage. Direct debits do not wait because a claim was nearly done. Landlords do not pause because a form was confusing. Bills still arrive. Here is where many people get caught out. They assume the old payment will keep going until the new one is approved. That is not always how it feels in real life. Yes, there can be short run-on help for some old benefits, and there are rules that can protect some people if they act within the right time. But none of that works well if the person simply ignores the letter. There is one more thing worth knowing. In many cases, if someone misses the deadline but claims within a short period after it, some protections may still apply, but that should never be the plan. Leaving it late adds stress, confusion, and a real risk of losing money in the gap. The safest choice is still to act before the deadline, not after it. Have you seen this happen in your family, where a letter looked harmless at first and then turned out to be urgent? If so, leave a short comment because other viewers often learn fastest from real examples, not official wording. So what should a person do if their letter says July 3rd, 2026? First, read every page slowly, not just the first paragraph. Look for the words telling you to claim universal credit, the date, the helpline number, and what information you need. If the person struggles with reading, eyesight, memory, or anxiety, sit with them and go through it together. Next, do not assume the process will be easy just because it is online. A claim may ask for bank details, rent information, savings, earnings, identity documents, and details about health conditions or caring duties. Some people need a passport or driving license for checks. Others need help because they do not use email, do not trust computers, or cannot manage forms alone. This is where the quiet delays pile up. One person cannot find their tenancy details. Another cannot remember their password. Another is waiting for help from a son or daughter who is busy. Another keeps saying they will do it next week. Then next week turns into the last week, and the last week turns into panic. If the person cannot meet the deadline for a good reason, they should not sit in silence and hope for the best. They should ask for help before the date passes. That may mean calling the relevant helpline, explaining the problem, and asking for more time. Leaving that call until after the deadline is much riskier than making it early. And for carers, this matters even more. Many carers are already handling medicine, appointments, meals, money, letters, and emotional support for someone else. A deadline can be missed not because nobody cared, but because too much was happening at once. If that sounds like your life, please do not carry it alone. Get support sooner, not later. If you are the person in the family who usually sorts out forms, subscribe and keep this channel close. Not because you need more noise, but because someone in your home may one day need one clear warning at exactly the right time. Now let's deal with the scam side, because this topic brings another risk. When there is a real DWP deadline in the news, fake texts, fake calls, and fake messages spread fast. A person hears that payments may stop, becomes worried, and then clicks a link they should never have touched. That is how fear turns into bank fraud. The DWP may contact people in normal ways, but scammers copy the style. They use urgent words. They say your account will close. They ask you to confirm bank details. They push you to act fast. That is why you should be careful with any message that tries to rush you into clicking, logging in through a random link, or giving card details over the phone. A real process usually gives you a proper letter, clear guidance, and a known route to claim. A scam tries to create panic and confusion in seconds. So if somebody gets a message saying their DWP payment ends today unless they click now, pause. Check the source. Use official contact details from known paperwork or official pages, not the number inside a suspicious text. Now here is the part many older viewers need to hear most clearly. If you are already over state pension age and you only get things like state pension, attendance allowance, or pension credit, this title may sound like it is aimed at you when it often is not. That does not mean ignore all letters. It just means do not assume every loud headline applies to your payments. Still, pensioners should listen for one reason. A husband, wife, adult child, grandchild, neighbor, or friend may be affected and not even know it. And in many families, the older person is the one who notices paperwork first. The person who says, this letter looks important, may be the person who saves the household from a financial mess. This is also important for mixed households. If one person is older and another is not, or if a family member moves in and out, or if caring arrangements change, benefit claims can become confusing very quickly. One letter can affect housing costs, council tax support, budgeting, and who pays what in the home. That is why silence is dangerous. Now let's make it practical. If the deadline is July 3rd, 2026, count backwards, not forwards. Do not say, I have until July. Say, how much can I get done this week? Gather documents. Check identity papers. Make sure the bank account is ready. Check rent figures. Ask for help if the person needs an appointee, a support worker, or someone to sit in during the claim. And please remember this. Council tax reduction is usually a separate local council issue, not the same as universal credit itself. So when someone moves from an older benefit to universal credit, they may still need to tell the council or make sure that part is handled properly. Many people think one claim updates everything. Often it does not. That single misunderstanding can cost money in another direction. A person sorts out universal credit but forgets the council side. Then a council tax bill changes, arrears build up, and they do not understand why. This is why it is so important to check the whole picture, not just the main payment. If you know someone who always says, I thought the system would do that automatically, send them this video. That one sentence has probably caused more missed support than people realize. Let's also talk about transitional protection in simple words. Some people worry that moving to universal credit means instant loss from day one. In some managed moves, there can be a top-up so the person does not lose out straight away in cash terms at the moment they move. But this is not a free extra payment forever, and it does not mean every case stays the same. That top-up can change later as the claim changes. So yes, it can help. But no, it is not a reason to ignore the move. In fact, some protections depend on moving through the proper process and not leaving it too late. That is why listening only to rumors from social media or neighbors can be very costly. There is another myth that needs to go. Some people say, if I do nothing, they will move me over automatically. That is one of the most dangerous ideas around. In many managed migration cases, the person has to claim universal credit themselves. The system does not always carry them over with no action. Waiting for an automatic transfer can be a serious mistake. And then there is the emotional side, which people do not talk about enough. Many claimants feel ashamed, tired, or overwhelmed. They delay opening letters because they fear bad news. They tell themselves they will deal with it when they feel stronger. But dates do not pause because someone feels low. If that is you, please ask somebody to sit with you and take one step at a time. This is where a calm plan beats panic every single time. One phone call, one document folder, 1 hour set aside, one person helping. That is often all it takes to turn a frightening deadline into a completed claim. The problem grows in silence. It gets smaller the moment action begins. And if the person has special difficulties like limited digital skills, poor health, memory problems, or trouble speaking on the phone, do not assume there is no help. Ask, explain, use support services. Some people may need extra assistance, and the earlier that is raised, the better the chance of sorting it before the deadline hits. Before we close, let me say the key message as simply as possible. July 3rd, 2026 is not a blanket day when all DWP money ends for everyone. But if that is the deadline written in a person's migration notice, it can be the day their older payments stop unless they act. That is the truth behind the headline, and it matters. So do not panic, but do not drift either. Check the letter, check who it applies to, check what benefit is named, check what needs to be done, and if help is needed, ask for it before the date passes, not after. That is what really protects people, not rumors, not guesswork, not waiting for someone else to sort it out, just clear action, taken in time, with the right information in front of you. If this video helped cut through the noise, subscribe so you stay ahead of these rule changes and share it with one person who still has a pile of unopened letters at home. It may be the simplest thing you do today, but for someone else, it could stop a very real loss of money.